Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Ferrari HP Esports series. We are back here at Laguna Seca, this time for the European region here at North America in what will be, I'm sure, an absolutely phenomenal ride. George Morgan here, your commentator alongside me, Nina, Jade, Paul. Nina, we're back with some European action, this time on Assetto Corsa, and if it's anything like what we saw earlier on, there's going to be eruptions, there'll be fireworks, it will be an utter bonfire, lighting up more than the 5th of November, I'm sure, but we're a little bit away from November just yet.
We are. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back. We had a fabulous round in the APAC region earlier today, which we saw some nail-biting stuff, George, between Cedric and Milana. So I'm intrigued to see what this evening holds. Do you reckon it'll be as competitive?
Well, I would imagine so. I mean, this is obviously a bigger grid. We've got more names, more drivers are obviously competing at the very top of their game, and we will, of course, deep dive into it for you as well, folks, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But yes, we did witness an absolutely phenomenal piece of action earlier on with 3 15-minute races, 2 qualifying sessions as well to decide the grids for the opening race and also for race 3 as well. But instead of a triple crown, we didn't get one. It all came to a head on the final race. Of course, the victor in the first 2 races was Andika Rama Mulana. Of course, went back-to-back in the first 2 races. Looked like he had the triple crown in his grasp, but was taken away after an incredible fight with Swiderek, who managed to really plummet into him heading in towards the final couple of laps. Unfortunately, though, for Mulana, he ended up spinning around the same corner that Swiderek actually managed to go around on as well. It truly was an absolutely sensational race. I highly recommend you watch it back. It was absolutely sensational. I mean, if it's anything like that, Nina, I think we're going to be in for a treat.
My goodness me, that race, the last race, my heart was in my mouth, George. I was watching with beagle eyes. I think Milana really had to work for that. It is the hardest I've seen sort of the winners of the races work throughout this whole regional finals since, actually. So let's see if someone can go 3 for 3 this evening.
We could yet see it. Of course, we've seen guys like Nicholas Rubelar do it, Will Chadwick. Let's take you first and foremost, though, through the format structure. 30 participants coming in from hot laps and regional qualifiers formed up the grids for rounds 1 and rounds 2 with 3 races in both rounds 1 and rounds 2. 3 15-minute races, that is, with the qualifying being decided by 7-minute sessions. Top 5 from each region will head to the Ferrari HP Esports Series 2024 Grand Finals on the 5th of December at Ferrari World, Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. Top 1 from AC, top 2 from iRacing, and also Assetto Corsa Competizione alike. So they will very soon be taken to the circuit here, this time in the European region in AC, to decide as to who is going to take those initial points. Obviously, they need to start the championship nice and strongly. We also have the race format we can take you through as well. This is the structure, the grid for the opening race decided by a 7-minute qualifying session. The grid for race 2, however, is set up by race 1's result. However, a little twist, something a little bit outside our usual scheduled programming. If you saw Asia Pacific, you'll be familiar with this as well. We had another qualifying session. Qualifying 2 will decide race 3's grid as well alike, and then we will find out as to who is going to take victory in all those 3 races. Will we see a driver turn up and take all 3 again this time, or will it be the case that once again here on Assetto Corsa we will see a driver maybe not do quite that? But you know, we'll wait and see. Obviously, still a lot to be said. I mean, we're heading into Laguna Seca here. A very fast format as well when we consider 15-minute race sessions as well and 7-minute qualifying sessions as well, Nina, which really means that the drivers have to think on their feet.
Exactly. Track position is king here. Yes, you want to qualify high up the grid because you don't really want a bad showing to start out with. We saw from the APAC region, whilst overtaking is very much possible here, the track is quite narrow in places, so putting you on the wrong foot can make your day a lot harder.
Yeah. Absolutely right, and we can take you to the 3 regions that are obviously taking part here in the Ferrari HP Esports Series. Kicking things off, of course, with Asia Pacific. We saw them go racing in Assetto Corsa earlier on today. Europe is where we go racing tonight with the European region. America's region will be coming up later on in the week, and we'll look forward to seeing who can come out on top in that affair. But it's truly a real World's Championship, of course, 3 regions making up the entire globe, and obviously looking forward to seeing who's going to come out on top with certainly so many fantastic talents taken to the circuit. And we got drivers from all walks of life as well, from real life talents to sim racing drivers to those that are just trying to build their fledgling careers as well. Some of them already established professionals in their own right. It's a really good system, this as well, Nina. It really encourages drivers from all walks of life to really take part and really see who is the best.
Exactly, and coming this far for some drivers is already a huge achievement, but as we've seen from earlier rounds and even from the race earlier today, whether you're seasoned or a novice, mastering this circuit, George, it requires a lot of practice and a bit of patience and really a deep understanding of the track.
It definitely does that. Obviously, we'll look forward to seeing more racing occurring as well as we make our way into the second half of the championship. We've already ticked off Imola as well as Watkins Glen. We are here at Laguna Seca. Tonight's round 8. We've already said goodbye to Laguna Seca in the Asia-Pacific region for round 7. Next up, though, after round 8 at Europe, we head to Americas on the 14th of September for round 9. And then, obviously, round 10 turns up at Summit Point. We're back on iRacing for the second half of the season as well. Asia Pacific on the 30th of September, aligned with Europe as well. That'll be featuring that same day just later on. And then round 12 on the 5th of October, back on iRacing. That will conclude iRacing's business in the regional finals. We then head to Silverstone, back on Assetto Corsa Competizione on the 2nd of October, kicking things off with Asia Pacific for round 13, and then Europe for round 14, and then round 15 at Americas on the 12th of October, and that will tick off ACC. And then the last dance, we head to Nürburgring, round 16 and 17 on the 4th of October for Asia Pacific, then Europe. That'll be on Assetto Corsa once again, and then the final one of the lot, round 18, to decide as to who the final drivers are that will be making their way across to Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. That's on the 19th of October, once again at the Nürburgring on Assetto Corsa, and we'll very soon find out who is going to be heading to the grand final. It is all to play for still. Like I said, we're coming into the halfway point now. Americas will be the only one remaining this side of the calendar before we then head to Summit Point on iRacing. It really is going to be quite a hard-fought affair. Many of the drivers have had to put in the hours, the preparation in as well, and we've seen many of them and heard many of them obviously getting themselves set and prepared, much like they'll be getting prepared for this circuit, the Laguna Seca circuit. Of course, a track based in North America at Monterey County, California, opened on the 9th of November 1957. That's over 66 years ago, and is holding many fantastic championships, including the IndyCar Monterey Grand Prix that has been here since 1960, and in between has had a few occasions where it has not featured. The IMSA Sports Car Championship also featuring here for the Motel Course de Monterey, which has been ongoing since 1957, and a track that Ferrari in itself holds such fantastic events, including the Ferrari Racing Days, where they displayed years upon years of Ferrari racing heritage, alongside that of the Ferrari Challenge Championship that also took part here all the way back in May. But obviously plenty of corners to be concerned about. This circuit in itself, 2.238 miles, 3.602 kilometers, has had a slight adjustment since prior to 1996, but this layout has been present since 1996. 11 turns are featured, including the one hellacious corkscrew section, one of the most famous and unique corners in world motorsport, and it's going to be a little tricky for some of these drivers to deal with here, Nina.
Absolutely, that corkscrew section is startling, George. The change in elevation is ridiculous. At the left-handed apex of turn 8, the track drops by 12%. By the time you reach turn 8A, the right-hander drops by a further 18%, George. And then from turn 8 to 9, the elevation falls by 109 feet, or in layman's terms, a 10-story building. It's more akin to a ski slope than a piece of racetrack, George.
Just don't look down, Nina. Just don't look down, whatever you do. Yes, the elevation coming out of turn 7 is startling. You then head down a hill, heading out to the corkscrew. It's basically, it is a roller coaster. You know, we spoke about Imola being a roller coaster not too long ago. Well, this is a real roller coaster, and I must say, it's going to be a treat to watch. Certainly some of these drivers who are the best in the world, and I'm looking at some of the names as well. We've got some fantastic drivers here competing tonight. A couple of eye catchers include Alessandro Ottaviani, who of course is a fantastic talent, though I must say I'm not seeing his name on the free practice board at the moment, but alluding to drivers such as him, he of course racing in the Le Mans Virtual in 2022 against the likes of Max Verstappen, Juan Pablo Montoya and Alex Palau. But we also have other drivers taking part here tonight, including Jack Oliver, who is competing in the GT World Challenge Endurance Series this year. Izzadine Benassia also competing in the, should we say, a virtual reality sense, tends to likes to use his virtual reality headset to race. Which obviously is something that I'm you know, I enjoy very much indeed, because it sort of brings the realism and the immersion that many of the drivers aim to achieve where it comes to sim racing, and I have no doubt it will be the future of sim racing, to say the least. We got other drivers as well that have competed at the very top of their respective fields. Maurice Stryker is another one to watch, a two-time qualifier for the Ferrari Esports Series, back again as well this time around. Stan Vlietstra, who has competed in DTM Esports back in February and raced at Zandvoort back in December, came P3 and obtained his real-life racing license. So we'll see whether he can put those skills to the test here this time around Laguna Seca. It just goes to show drivers from all walks of life, Nina.
Absolutely, drivers with some very big CVs, George. But like I say, that doesn't necessarily mean that it will translate to going well here. We saw from the likes of Swiderick earlier that you can be really fast, you can have raw pace, but that's not all it takes. Good starts, good racecraft. It's a technical circuit and it needs some finesse.
Yeah, certainly does indeed. It takes skill, but at the same time. Now, the one challenge that some drivers may have, especially here at Laguna Seca, given the amount of numbers we have here, obviously they far amass what Asia Pacific had earlier on. You know, we've got a lot more drivers here representing in the Europe category, as we have probably had throughout the entire platforms we've been through the course of this championship. So this makes qualifying very difficult, I think, for some, because if you get caught up, if one driver in front of you has an incident, it can affect your flying lap, and especially in a 7-minute session, it really does shrink the window of opportunity, does it not, Nina?
Absolutely, it's all the more important to go well in qualifying, especially if there's way more cars, like you say, in this round, George. So getting into the points will be a lot harder, and you don't really want to start in the midfield or towards the back, because there's so much jeopardy in getting caught up in lap 1 drama.
Yeah, definitely is. We've already seen sometimes crossing the line. Loic Munier setting a 1:32.002. Obviously, that's not necessarily representative. We will be expecting a lot more. As you can already see, Munier 7 seconds to the good already. We generally see laps around the 120s without any doubt. So sit tight, folks. We will be seeing them come across the line very shortly, registering the, should we say, true to form lap times. But Loic Munier making his way around the circuit. And someone who has competed mainly on R-Factor 2, but has come across here to Assetto Corsa. Did well in the regional qualifiers, taking victory in race 1 back at Spa-Francorchamps in the top split as well. Finished P7 though, however, in race 2. But looking to set a precedence here this time around as he makes his way around turn 11 and then sending it down the straight. Of course, coming up next will be turn 1 and then a trip towards the Andretti hairpin at turn 2, but more concerned about the time that he's going to set, and that is blistering. A 1:22.149 right at the very get-go, and these are the kinds of times that we were seeing right at the top. I just want to usher in, though, that Jack Oliver has registered a 1:21.662, so the times are cascading down by the moment.
Absolutely, it's going to be really close, isn't it? And like we said earlier, whilst overtaking is possible here during the race, it's a little bit tricky. You've got to pick your moment. So I wonder if any of the drivers watched the earlier race, George.
Well, you do wonder. Jack Oliver, who incidentally, or Jack Olivier, I probably should say, he is French. He's not. I'm missing an I on my note system here. I do apologise to Jack, but Jacques, I suppose you should say Jacques. Olivier, of course, because like I said, he is French. He is competing in the GT World Challenge Endurance series as well, in the esports world, not in real life, I should probably say as well. But competing there in earlier on this year, and showing his true colours and his true form here as well. 3/10 to the good ahead of Nicolas Lefrancois. So we got 2 French drivers up at the very top. Make that 3, in fact, if we include Munier. As we now watch them head through the middle sector. Jack Oliver, Olivier, not that's going to really get me now. Olivier's not in that middle sector.
It's one of the easier names, George.
It is supposed to be. It's when you forget to add the I in the name and you put Jack Oliver. That's really what
You're trying to make him English.
Yeah. I mean, listen, with lap times like that, you'd be doing the nation proud, that's for sure. But
right.
yeah, a fantastic effort. 1:21.662 to take top spot already in the immediate. We've got 2 minutes and 20 to go, and still plenty of opportunities for the drivers. But I must say, Olivier, with that initial 1:21.662, it's going to be very tough to beat as we now see Gilles Ho go into second fastest.
Yeah, absolutely. Olivier's a big statement with that lap. Great lap. And drivers will really want to focus on trying to carry as much speed as possible through each corner to maximise their lap time. So, like I say earlier, smooth throttle application, early apex is all key to maximising corner exit speed and gaining competitive advantage.
Yeah, absolutely right. Still Olivier up at the top, though, despite Gilles Hode pulling out an improved lap time, 1:21.939, his personal best, of course, but the lap time just 2 3/4 tenths away from Jacques Olivier up at the front. As we now watch Francois Lefrançois down in third. Of course, did sit in P2 until he was upended by Sven, who now sits in second. Meunier down in fourth. Few drivers, I'm sure, looking to improve. There's quite a few names here that you would expect to be at the top. One, Lucas Galli would be one of them, who actually managed to achieve a P3 in race 1 in top split. And then the victory in race 2 later on as well. A very strong French contingent of drivers here on Assetto Corsa for the European region. Looking to follow suit from the Asia-Pacific region. I'm sure we'll see plenty of action as time goes on. We just want to say as well, Vlietstra down in 6th fastest, just within 7/10 of a second. I would expect he'll bring his absolute best for last. And as we come down to the final 45 seconds of the session, they need their best now or it's never.
Absolutely, it's going to be a close affair, isn't it? Who's your money on, George?
Well, it's tricky to say, because I must say, coming into this one, Ottaviani was the one I wanted to watch, but the fact that he's not here and racing here tonight suggests that obviously it's going to go elsewhere. But I can't look past Olivier. I think he's done a fantastic job to register the time that he has, and obviously will have experience in GT3 machinery, as Puntola, no Punterino, moves into 6th place and sits just within 6/10 of a second as it stands. There's Sven Gilles Hode, who's currently sat in 2nd place. That's the man who hails from the Netherlands. Of course, speaking of Dutch drivers, we of course witnessed the in the esports world, breaking news, of course, Jana Wotmir, of course, been setting the world alight. Obviously, many great Dutch sim racers are out and about, and including the likes of Duncan Hofland as well. We see many of them competing at the top level in GT3 alike, and obviously in real life too, when we consider Max Verstappen has been, of course, a multi-time Formula 1 world champion across the last 3 years. As now we watch Gilles Hode come through and looking to follow in the footsteps of some of the other drivers that have already been featured here in the Ferrari HP Esports series. Also the likes of Will Chadwick, who we witnessed on iRacing back at Imola, taking 3 in a row, as did many others, and he'll be hoping to add his name to the list. But equally, you'd fathom that Jacques Olivier would be looking to do exactly the same. Gilles Hode now coming through the latter portions on the lap, a trip through turn 11 to sign off the qualifying session. Let's see if he can end it with a bang. More times coming across the board. Rizala goes into 13th. Now Vlietstra registering a 2nd place time at 1:21.848, but Gilles Hode takes 2nd place back. It's still Olivier up at the top, but Gilles Hode going 2nd fastest, registering a 1:21.819, and that is just over 1.5 tenths away from Jacques Olivier. Olivier in a region of his own right now.
Absolutely, no one had an answer for him, did they? But it'll be interesting to see if he can convert this pole into a win, because like we saw in the APAC region, Swederic had the raw pace, but he couldn't convert it initially. He got overtaken at the start. So I wonder what will hold for Olivier.
Yeah, obviously Nicolas Lefrançois wasn't able to retake that P2 that he had earlier into the session, ended up forfeiting it, in fact, dropping down to 4th. But nevertheless, not without a chance. I would not write him off just yet. Obviously, has a little bit of work to do to get past the likes of Stan Vlietstra, as well as Jacques Olivier and Sven Gilles Hode as well, who currently sit at the very top. But we've also got to factor in Luca Andretta, who's going to be starting just in behind him. Loic Meunier as well further back, Alex Lehoux. There are so many fantastic drivers. Even Lasse Albrecht down in 9th is going to be a fascinating one to watch, and Nico Puntola as well. Just a sheer vast number of talented individuals racing here in the European region. So sit tight, everybody, grab the popcorn. You're going to be in for a real treat. But what we did witness back in our previous broadcast, of course, when we had Asia Pacific, was the fact that it wasn't necessarily the fact that if you started on pole, you were going to lead heading in towards turn 2. So maybe we could see a battle all the way down to the first corner. What are your thoughts, Nina?
Absolutely. I reckon if Gilles Hode is punchy, he'll be able to take the lead just like Milano did on Swederic. So we just have to wait and see. I've got my popcorn, George.
Yeah, we definitely will need it. Sven Gilles Hode, obviously at the front end of things here. They're all waiting for the lights. Of course, a little different from other races that we have had on other platforms. We have a standing start this time. Here come, though, the starting lights. First light, second light, third light, fourth light, fifth light, and the sixth light. And it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. Great start there for Jacques-Olivier. Leads the way further back. Gilles Ho looking to try and maybe find some momentum heading down through towards turn 2. They come out of turn 1. Just look at this, Stan Vliestra as well, trying to find his way through. Up the inside, contact. Oh, Jacques-Olivier sent well and truly wide. Sven Gilles Ho there with Stan Vliestra, who made contact with our pole sitter. And unfortunately for Jacques-Olivier, he's got to try and fight back. Then further back then is Luca Andretti, who's trying to take down Jacques-Olivier in a battle for third place. I think Olivier might have just done enough, but it's Vliestra now who leads ahead of Gilles Ho.
Goodness me, what a start from Olivier as well. So unfortunate for him. He had a great start, great second phase, great acceleration, and unfortunately he just got caught up in someone else's drama. But now he's just got to keep his head down, George, and work his way back up because he has the pace.
Yeah, it certainly does. We got Menciacci as well further down the order. That's Francesco Menciacci from Italy, who actually came into this after the regional qualifiers. Big fight actually happening in the midst of this field, as now we watch them come through towards the corkscrew. Oh no! Oh, that is a huge impact. I'm just trying to see whether I can catch who was involved in all that. It was certainly, obviously, Menciacci being one of them, I think. Ben Taleb, I think, might have been in the thick of it too. De Jumar as well was also part of it. Just an absolute flurry of cars getting it all wrong, coming through the very tricky corkscrew section.
They have come out fighting, George, punchy straight off the back. Do you think because there's another qualifying session, it's less jeopardy for them?
Well, I just think it was a misjudgment on their part. Obviously, it's never ideal. Some of the drivers getting it all wrong, a little bit overzealous. We saw it with Vliestra as well at the very start of the race, who went into the back of Jacques-Olivier. I can imagine there will be some stewards' reports filed as well. Maximin in 6th place, also in the midst of a fight. Rizala is now up to 8th, with Puntola down to 9th. So already some big changes happening throughout the entire field as we now watch Nathan Maximan trying to close down on Lasse Ulbrecht. And this is over 5th place. Remember, points across the board from Ps1 all the way down to Ps10. If you finish in 1st place, it's 25 points, 1 point for P10. Pretty requisite of what we see in terms of the Formula 1 point system as well. Nico Puntola heading through the next left, still chasing after Rizala over 8th. A little bit of work to do, though. He needs to try and generate some momentum from somewhere as they rise up the hill. Eventually they will tackle the corkscrew once more as we take another look from the other side of the descent downhill. And then very shortly a trip through turn 9 and then towards turn 10. But Maximin looking devilish on the back of Lasse Ulbrecht as they now head down in towards the section at turn 11 and then down the straight. And I would argue that Maximin probably got a better run heading out to that one and will have a little bit of slipstream before heading around turn 1 in towards turn 2. And there we can see as well Stan Vliestra as we take a look to the top. Still in control, has taken the fastest lap, and a big bit of contact between Maximan and Ulbrecht. Ulbrecht relegated down to 7th, Puntola's down to 9th as well, Laho up to 5th, and it looks like Maximan has given that position back. Very courteous racing there. Unfortunately,
he came off short a bit there, didn't he, George? It seems like people are being a bit overzealous. They're braking too late and going into the back of people on that corner.
Yeah, I think certainly there is some braking mismanagement, and Maximan caught napping again. I think a little bit of contact again with Lasse Ulbrecht and also with Laho, who's up into 5th. So no doubt the stewards are going to be very involved in what happens towards the end of this race. Lefrancois as well, Nico Lefrancois with Puntola. Rizala also part of this as well. Rizala losing out to Claver, who now moves up into the 1 point paying position in P10. Rizala now in 11th and 3/10 in behind those in the top 10 right now as they come through the corkscrew once more. And oh, there was a big moment there. That was a big slide coming out to the first half of the corkscrew. There was a blue 296. I think that was Claver who unfortunately came unstuck in that one, and in fact has lost out to Rizala. I think somehow must have caught the car, but that was a very uncomfortable ride, and he's running side by side here with Rizala.
Goodness me, there's action everywhere, George. We told you it was going to be a good one, guys. Good thing we have cameras, because our eyes can't be everywhere.
No, not at all. It's the brilliance of having the producers in our ear and showing us exactly what's going on. Maurice Stryker, who's looking to score here this time around, having a look up the inside. He's going to try and take the pair of them, but no contact again. Actually making contact there with Rosala in P10, and Claver looked to try and take the place back that he lost to Stryker, and they're going to run side by side, coming through the first sector, coming out of turn 3. Stryker holds on to 11th.
It's fine to be punchy and aggressive, but people have to start thinking about their race now. They don't want one move to ruin it all, and they end up 22nd place.
Certainly a different complexion to what we saw in iRacing as well as ACC. The drivers, I think, have a little bit of work to do to try and calm themselves down. Of course, we appreciate the numbers are a little bigger than what we saw in Asia Pacific, but still, it's all about race management. As we now watch Eduardo Blázquez coming up the inside. Oh, wow. The two yellow 488s, I should say. We've been talking about 296s right through the course of this championship. Of course, here in AC, we're running the Ferrari 488 GT3. Gatti moving up into 14th as well, which is Jean now moving down to 15th as well alike. So places changing hands right through this Laguna Seca circuit. Claver losing out again to Menchachi, and I think Claver's got an issue. I think he's got a terminal issue because he's dropping down through the field. A major incident, and he's right at the back as here comes Alex Laho with the fastest lap, and Blázquez still battling with Sejourn and Barrian as well over 14th, 15th and 16th.
There are battles everywhere, George, absolutely everywhere. And notably, Olivier has dropped off from the front two, so he just doesn't have the pace at the moment.
No, certainly doesn't. Vliestra up at the very top is still out in front. He's got Gilles Ho down in second, but we've got this huge fight still ongoing. 16th, 17th and 18th up for question. Lucas Galli, of course, joining this as well in the distance, who excelled in the regional qualifier phase. But still, Blázquez forced to wait in behind. Dujama still there in 16th and in front of him. Barrian still occupying 15th as well. Here comes Dujama up the inside. Also Loic Mounier having a look up the inside of Blázquez as they head down this next segment before then heading down through the corkscrew once more. 8 minutes and 10 still to go. Get the feeling it's settling down, but I don't think it's going to stay that way as Blázquez goes on the attack once again.
Absolutely, it hasn't settled down for one moment, George. 8 minutes to go and still so many points to play for, so they're trying to make up as many positions as they can.
They definitely are. Puntola has managed to move up to 8th as well, so Nico Lefrancois is now dropped down to 9th. Fastest lap for Albrecht, as Vliestra did take it briefly, as we watch Loic Mounier trying to chase after Jouama, and Blázquez still after Barry, and these positions have been changed hands quite aggressively over the course of the last lap. You have to wonder when it's going to settle down. Obviously, they all want to try and break into the top 10 so they can score at least some points as Andretta comes side by side with Jacques Olivier. And Andretta managing to hold on to third, and he's going to try and take that Tiger line up the inside. Alex Laho, who's come out of absolutely nowhere. Of course, the VSE F2 champion on Assetto Corsa, now trying to move on up. Jacques Olivier now moving past Laho for 4th place, and Andretta holds on to 3rd.
I think Andretta will be very happy holding on to 3rd position. Those are valuable points. He just has to hold on to it now for the next 6 minutes.
Certainly does. Andretta 5.3 behind Gilles Ho, so he's very exposed to the cars that are sat behind. He'll have no slipstream, nothing at all to protect him from the likes of Jacques Olivier, as well as Alex Laho, who's down now in 5th place. As we watch Lucas Galli coming up the hill, and still being pursued by Jouama. Once again, these two have been squabbling for quite some time, as has Loic Mounier and Blázquez. Not to mention Barrian as well. Gatti further up in 13th has got a little bit of respite. He's 4.5 seconds clear of Barrian in 14th. As we now watch Lucas Galli head through this next right in his scarlet red traditional Ferrari colours for the 488. And still, of course, harnessing the 3.9 litre V8 engine, 550 horsepower or over 550 horsepower underneath the hood of this phenomenal car. Of course, nowadays we have the now modern 296, but both cars have been sensations in the GT3 world. I've had the pleasure of commentating real-life races time and time again with these machines on show, and they never fail to impress, that's for sure. As Ben Taleb comes across the line, he puts in an improved lap time, but has a lot of work to do to try and improve from the back of the back of the grid order, and Jacques Olivier has managed to fight back up into third. They're going to run side by side through the corkscrew, and I definitely wouldn't recommend that, but somehow Olivier hanging on. You might have to forfeit that place because Alex Lahoe is now on the tail. Here comes Andretti again. Also, in comes Lasse Albrecht out of absolutely nowhere. He moves into fourth place now, so there's a huge squabble over the last podium place, and I do have to wonder whether the stewards might frown a little bit on Jacques Olivier's move at the corkscrew.
I think he should give that place back, George, otherwise he can risk getting a penalty and getting third position taken off him anyway.
Yeah, I think so. 1:23.704. Olivier set on that last lap. It was faster, though, from Lasse Albrecht as they come in towards turn 2, and he's towing along Luca Andretti. Alex Lahoe and Maximan has also come into this as well. Nathan Maximan from the United Kingdom, obviously currently sat in 7th place, has got a nice gap of 4.5 seconds between he and Puntola, who is currently sat in that 8th spot, with a gap then to Nico Lefrancois, who has also got a gap of 2.4 seconds between he and Rizala. Blasquez and Mounier also doing battle over 15th as it stands, as we watch Alex Lahoe make his way through, just chasing the drivers in front. Luca Andretti predominantly sticks in front of him right now, but all this allowing Stan Velistra to carry on up at the front, and obviously utilising all that experience that he would have had racing real-life cars at Zandvoort back in December. Like we said, finishing third in that race and also obtaining his racing licence, which is a huge achievement, of course, achieving that back in December of last year, and that is no mean feat, Nina.
Absolutely. Velistra is calm as you like, and it's showing, because whilst Gilho is there, he's present, he's behind him, he's not really putting the pressure on him. So I think he's got it well under control, George.
Yeah, I think so. Sven Gildhoed also representing the Netherlands. It's the Netherlands 1-2 at the moment here in race 1. Jacques Olivier 8.2 behind P2 right now. Velistra, though, starting to move further and further ahead of his fellow countrymen. It's now a second between the top two. So Velistra can just focus on his own race. Alex Lahoe as well. He's currently sat in 6th with Maximan, who is still trying to close him down. Puntola still in 8th, trying to gain. It's 3.9 between he and Maximan right now as we ride on board here with Lasse Albrecht, and we can get a first-hand view of what the driver sees as they climb up the hill and very soon tackle the corkscrew.
It's amazing when you get this view, because they really don't see much, George, compared to our aerial view.
No, they certainly don't. I mean, obviously they're not going to get the privilege of seeing a full-on view of the apex. Here is the corkscrew right now, and obviously the drivers are always fearful coming through this, and especially when you're tackling at such high speeds, because you have to commit if you want to be successful at this level, because you can bet bottom dollar that every other driver is going into that segment with full commitment, because at the end of the day you need to be fast to achieve the big results, and those big results grant you the points that go towards those big prizes, and they all want to stamp their ticket to getting to Ferrari World Yas Island Abu Dhabi. Everything in these races matters.
There's so much to play for, isn't it? And that's what you were saying. You have to commit to these corners. You have to be daring. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, we have seen moments where drivers have misplaced the brake pedal. Maybe you've got it confused with the accelerator as well, heading down towards some of the apexes. We saw that on the opening lap, that's for sure. Gatti still in 13th. Blasquez still battling it out with Lucas Galli down for 16th as well, as we now watch Lasse Albrecht sat in 4th and still persevering after Jacques Olivier. The gap between Gilho and Velistra up at the very top, still stagnant at a second. Gilho, despite perhaps pulling in a 10th, it's not going to be enough to challenge for the race win, and with 1 minute and 30 to go, it means that I would say it's etching more to Stan Velistra's way.
I think Velistra's got this covered, Jaws. I mean, unless he makes any mistakes, I think he'll probably take the race run.
I would say so. It's looking good for him right now. He's driven impeccably. Lasse Albrecht as well coming through. We can't forget, though, that there was a moment where Stan Velistra took the lead. He went into the back of Jacques Olivier, and the race could have been oh so different had that not occurred. And obviously Olivier will be wondering that, and I'm sure there'll be a ticket to the stewards. I don't think this race is concluded as such. Maybe concluded out on track, but as far as the stewards room is concerned, there's going to be lots of decisions for those stewards and race control to make, as we now watch the cars make their way downhill out of turn 9 in towards turn 10 and then in towards turn 11, where they'll begin their final laps of the race. Obviously, that will tick off race 1. Some of the drivers, I'm sure, will be reviewing what occurred in this opening race. Menchachi moving up into 11th, with Striker moving down to 12th. Mounier picking up a purple lap in his own right as we watch Eduardo Blázquez trying to close up to the back of Lucas Galli, who is on the tail of Barrian over 15th place, and they're going to run wheel to wheel here, heading through turn 2, and it looks like Barrian's done enough to withstand the pressure. Galli forced back into 16th. Blázquez watching it all unfold with the best seat in the house, and no doubt will be looking to stick his oar in should the opportunity present itself.
Absolutely. He's watching the show, isn't he? Just waiting for one ahead of him to make a mistake, and then I'm sure he'll say thank you very much.
Sure he will. The timer now ticking to 0. We are on the final lap. It's still Stan Vlistra out in front, and he's coming out of turn 11 right now with Gilles Ho in hot pursuit, but he's not going to catch him. Stan Vlistra, it's going Dutch for race 1. Vlistra takes victory here at Laguna Seca. A brilliant first race, fully opportunistic. The first corner on the first lap could cause a few question marks, may raise a few heads in the stewards' room, but we'll wait and see. Gilles Hode coming home in 2nd. Jacques Olivier will be coming home in 3rd.
Great first race, I'd say, George. What's your take on Vlistra's move on Olivier at the start?
Well, I think it was a tricky one. I will say this. I think he did kind of go in a little overzealous. There's no question that Olivier was forced out wide after the contact going into the back. Obviously, we'll let the stewards decide that, but it did look like that contact was substantial. I'm sure we will find out as time goes on. Obviously, the stewards will assess that. Decision is obviously made post broadcast tonight, so be sure to stay tuned as well. And it's another good reason as well to go to the website where of course those results will be posted. But a fabulous race and a perfect start already for Stan Vlistra, at least as far as the on-track action is concerned. He came across the line first and foremost. That is what's important, and he's put himself on the front row and on pole position ahead of our second race.
I think he'll be very happy with that performance. Might not be expected as well, so I think he'll take the win with open arms.
Yeah, he certainly will. Big thank you to all of you who've tuned in as well. Just to bear in mind as well, folks, of course, whilst all these drivers have come through the regional qualifiers, you too can still potentially qualify for the grand final here in the Ferrari HP Esports Series. And if you want to do that, of course, you just have to head across to the website, sign up to be part of the Thrustmaster Community Cup Hot Lap Challenge. And if you want to get involved, of course, post your hot laps. There are standalone weekly competitions where you could potentially win a Ferrari 250 GT3 wheel add-on as well. And on top of that, if your time is the fastest, you will get the wildcard entry to take part in the grand final on the 5th of December at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. I tell you what, that is a mouth-watering prize, Nina.
Oh, gives you shivers, doesn't it, George? Anyone would want it.
Yeah. I could see you taking part in that, Nina. It has to be said. Let's take you through the standard. Yeah, why not? Stan Vlistra is on top of the shop. 25 points to his name, with Sven Gilhode in 2nd place, 18 points. Jacques Olivier in 3rd with 15 points. Lasse Ulbrecht in 4th place on 12 points. Loic Mounier in 5th place on 10 points. Alex Laho in 6th on 8 points. Nathan Maximan in 7th place on 6 points. And Nico Pantola on 4 points in 8th place. We can take you through as well from P9 downwards as well alike. And there they are. Nicolas Barriant on 2 points, with Francesco Menchachi in 10th place on 1 single point. And then Lucas Galli, Damien Sejourne, Maurice Stryker, Abderrem Bentaleb on 0 points, as is Dylan Claver and Giacomo Reddy as well. I'm sure, though, these drivers will be back hunting down those first points when we go racing in race 2. Remember, the grid decided off the back of the results from race 1, and already they're getting set and lined up. What are the thoughts heading in towards Tour 1? Do you think we'll see something largely the same, Nina?
I think we could do, but for some sneaky reason, I think Vlistra's got it covered.
Well, you never know. We'll have to wait and see. Quite the contingent now will very shortly be making their way down through towards Turn 1 and through towards Turn 2. The question is, who will come out on top? The lights now about to get lit. Stan Vlistra sits on the front, but Sven Gilhode will be looking to take it. What about Jacques Olivier? All 6 lights now lit here at Laguna Seca. And it's pedal to the metal. Oh, a jump start, I think, further back. A car got a very early jump. Not quite sure which one that was, but it is going to be Stan Vlistra who gets the jump and leads the way. But Jacques Olivier getting off to a great start. Looks to go side by side with Sven Gilho as they come in towards turn 2 and Andretti corner. And a great lunge, a retribution lunge there from Jacques Olivier, who now sits in second place, but he's punted in the back. And Gilho is round. Gilho is round and a huge smash. Huge smash, car on car, smacking into each other, coming in towards turn 3, but Vlistra leads, Olivier second, and Andretti in third.
You see how your race can just turn around in one corner, George, in a matter of seconds, and look at the damage that's done to his race.
It has done certainly irreparable damage for some drivers. Obviously, the one blessing that they do have is that the grid from this race does not go in to serving up the starting grid for race 3, so there is still a chance that they can seek retribution in qualifying. Obviously, though, it's changed the complexion somewhat in the top 10. Andretti now sits in third, Lasse Albrecht in fourth. We got Maximan in 5th place, as well as we now watch him come through turns 9, and then of course Nico Lefrancois down in 6th place with Menchachi in 7th place. Pantola also in 8th. Blazquez has moved up into the top 10 with Rizala. Sejourne as well down in 11th place, looking to join the party as we now watch the cars pirouette out of turn 11. Stan Vlistra still leads the way, but you have to wonder, Jacques Olivier, given his pace that we saw in qualifying, how long before he starts executing it here in race trim?
Exactly, it's certainly not over, is it? And like you said, it's almost like a retribution drive for him. So let's see what he can do.
We'll wait and see. Rizala and Sejourne as well doing battle. We now take a look at Jacques Olivier, who's looking to try and close up. He's in second and getting closer, urging closer towards Stan Vlistra. The Dutchman is going to have company very shortly. The Frenchman still all over the tail. The two blue Ferrari 488s making their way through this Laguna Seca circuit. Up the hill they will climb and then descend downhill on reaching the corkscrew bends as they now cascade over the top. They'll go up once more and then down once again, coming out of the Rahal Straits at turn 6 and then in towards turn 7 where things will get rather hairy. They come down into the corkscrew now. Vlistra still holding on. Pantola has managed to dispatch Menchachi and take P7 and is now chasing after Nico Lefrancois, but still no changes up at the front. Olivier, I think, quite content to remaining within half a second. The key thing is that they are ahead of Andretti.
Exactly, and they're building the gap as well, so Olivier won't have to focus too much on what's going on behind him. He can just focus on hunting down Vlistra.
Yeah, at the moment as well, we're watching Dylan Claver, and just look at the train of cars he has got in behind him. Blazquez being one of them, and then further back as well, Damien Sejourne, who is trying to get into the thick of this and running side by side with Blazquez as they look to battle as well. Now, Nico Lefrancois is in the pits. Has he had a problem, Nina?
Goodness me, he must have had a bit of a drama somewhere because he's in the pits, George.
Yeah, dropping down the order, and now as a consequence the rest of the drivers move up. Damien Sejourne now up into 9th, Lucas Galli up into 10th, and just look at them all filtering out of turn 2 at Andretti. Blazquez now in 11th, Barrian moves up to 12th, Mounier has dropped down to 16th with Dujoama moving up to 15th, and Lehoux moves up to 17th with Lefrancois now down in 18th place. Where he was, it was in the top 10, and he's sunk so low now that he's outside of points contention.
Goodness me, and this is what I mean though, anything can happen in these races, George. There's no need to be overly aggressive because I'm sure people will have dramas up ahead of you.
Yeah, absolutely right. But we take a look now at Akram Dujoama, still chasing after Loic Mounier. In a battle over 15th, there's quite a trail of cars now heading through in towards the corkscrew, and this is where things can get rather complicated because we've seen a couple of cars now barreling into one another, and Dujoama was very aggressive heading through those curves, dropping down out of turns 8 in towards T8A, and then down in towards turn 9. We've got wheel-to-wheel once more as Dujoama now looks to move on upwards, trying to keep Lehoux in behind. Lefrancois as well trying to come into this, but contact again, and there's contact in the back. There's a car off and another car round as well. That's Semar out. Lehoux, Alex Lehoux as well, further back, also coming unstuck. Farouk Samar also going around, heading through the final corner at turn 11. Again, the mess continues here in race 2.
We've got absolute chaos, George. These are a feisty bunch, especially compared with the APAC region earlier today.
Yeah, well, all this allowing, obviously, Stan Vlistra and Jacques Olivier to just continue onwards. These two have just continued and have managed to push 2.2 seconds ahead of Luca Andretti down in third. who's been joined by Lasse Albrecht, and also not to mention Nathan Maximan, who remember was fighting in the P7 region. He's now a little bit higher than that this time. Through the corkscrew, the top two go. There is Andretta towing along Albrecht, but I must say Jacques Olivier just strikes me as a driver who is just patiently waiting for his chance, Nina.
Absolutely. He hasn't put a foot wrong yet. So let's see. What goes through your mind, George, if you're Jacques Olivier, knowing we have a qualifying session coming up for the third race? What do you do here?
Well, you do have to wonder whether he'll do what Luca Losio did and just happily take the 18 points. But obviously, with there being 25 available, he'll want to answer back the same, the best way he can. I mean, obviously, he forfeited 25 points in the last race, where, well, it was out of his control, first and foremost, because, of course, he made contact with... Well, look at this, a lovely exit, though, coming out of Andretti, and fortune might favour him this time. A contact, and Vliestra went off the track, but Olivier just went through the door. It was wide open, basically left on a plate for him. Stan Vliestra was just way too generous coming through turn two.
Way too generous, almost like he wanted him to get overtaken. But what do you think? Do you think the stewards will have a look at that move?
Well, I'm not sure, to be honest, because to me it struck me as a racing incident. Of course, they ran side by side. I think in many ways the circuit in itself, they both carried their lines. I don't think necessarily Jacques Olivier did anything wrong, but I think the only thing that was probably incorrect on Vliestra's part was just the fact that he left the door wide open. So it was almost inviting Olivier to just take it away from him.
Absolutely. He said, thank you very much. I'll take that back. And now we can get on with this race. Head down, George.
Yeah, well, whether, that might play a part in from what race one delivered, because remember, it was Vliestra who went into the back of Olivier at the very start of race one. So whether this is him saying, listen, I apologise for contacting you in the first corner, or should we say turn two in our opening race, have this one back and we'll call it square.
I don't think the stewards will see it like that. If whatever happened in the first race, I'm sure he'll get punished for it if they decide.
Does make you wonder. Eduardo Blasquez coming through the final corner at turn 11, still chasing after Galli for 10th place. This is a battle to get into the points, but he's got 1.2 to 5. Meunier puts together a purple lap as we now watch further back. Then Barrian and Meunier coming down in towards turn two, wheel to wheel. Still at the moment, though, it's Meunier with his nose in front, will retain the place. And Barrian down in 13th, Blasquez 11th spot now, and chasing after Galli still. 1.2 he's got to find as we watch Gilles Hode, who's had a very tricky start. Remember, starting on the front row after achieving a podium in our last race. Now sat down in 17th with lots of work to do.
Lots of work to do, but it's not all over yet, George, because we have a qualifying session next, and it can start a whole new race in race 3, so you can just get through this one, buckle down, crack on with it, and then go again.
Well, he's only got 7 minutes to get through until the race comes to an end, so he can perhaps just have a rethink and come back a little stronger. Leho now moves up to 19th place. It's a lovely move there on Semar. Farouk Semar down now in 20th place, who's had a bit of a tricky run, of course, was spun earlier on after coming together at turn 11 with a couple of cars. Barrian now dropping down to 15th as well, with Dejoama and Lefrancois moving up into 14th. But still up at the top, it's Jacques Olivier, and Olivier is running away with it. The gap between he and Vliestra is now starting to move to the whole second mark. It's now over 8 tenths now, and he's starting to pull out all the stops. 6 minutes still remain, needs to consolidate the place. Dylan Claver now moving past Menchachi over that 7th spot, but it looks like Menchachi's trying to get it back as we watch Loic Meunier running a little bit deep coming out of turn 2. Has got Blasquez for company just in behind. Dylan Claver still battling side by side with Menchachi, it seems, over that 7th place, but looks like Claver might have had his number. Meunier also consolidating that 11th spot.
Absolutely, with just under 6 minutes to go, you don't want to be squabbling too much if you're not going to actually make the overtake, because all it will do is bring the cars behind a lot closer and cause you more problems.
It certainly will do that. As we watch Meunier head through the middle sector once again. It's had a pretty busy string of races, has to be said. Of course, a regional qualifier. We did allude to his race win in race 1 back at Spa-Francorchamps, and P7 in race 2, and taking most of his sim racing on R-Factor 2 as well, but coming across to Assetto Corsa to compete in the Ferrari HP Esports Series. He's got still quite a ways to go to try and get himself a qualification spot to get into the grand final. He's being joined by Damien Sejourne further back, who is trying to pressurise him for that 8th place. They come out of turn 11. And they'll rush down the straight now in towards turn 1. Opening the door. Here comes Damien Sejourne around the outside. Of course, looking to improve his prospects from P9 up into P8. And Sejourne is going to commit to the long way round. Of course, the Tiger line favouring Menchachi, who is able to now hold firm to that 8th place. But Sejourne asking those major questions here, Nina.
Absolutely. The midfield is so bunched up, isn't it? Because, you know, points are on the line here, and they're precious, precious points. Like you say, George, points mean prizes.
They certainly do. Obviously, could be the difference maker between you getting to the grand final or not. And Menchachi will be hoping to pull out all the stops to try and defend relentlessly so he doesn't forfeit too much. Eduardo Blasquez sat in 14th, still chasing after Nico Lefrancois. And heading down in towards the next left-hander before then meeting yet another tight and twisty section known as the corkscrew. They come over the hill. It looks like Damien Sejourne might have met an uncomfortable visit as well, with Lucas Galli now up into 9th, Munier up into 10th, so still more swapping happening in the midfield. Obviously some drivers trying to risk it to get into that top 10 battle, but no stopping Jacques Olivier up at the front. Stan Vliestra, incidentally, has closed the gap. Remember, it was 8/10. It's now just over half a second, so great effort from Stan Vliestra. And I think what's important to note as well is that they are 3.8 clear of Luca Andretta down in 3rd place, and he's clear as well, 1.5 ahead of Lasse Albrecht.
Absolutely, and if Olivier takes the win here, we'll have 2 different winners for the first 2 races. How exciting, George.
Well, ironically enough, that hasn't happened a lot. I'll be quite frank, which sounds bizarre, especially given the number of drivers we have had here. And of course, we're averaging around 15 to 20 drivers a grid here in this championship. So that's, you know, around, say on average, between 90 to 100 drivers across this whole series, this whole championship, which is absolutely phenomenal when you think about it. All of them trying to push for those few spots that are available, and committing the way they have done is just tremendous to watch, and just goes to show how much this series means to them. As we now watch Munier chasing after Galli. This is over 9th spot as well, looking to promote himself from the 1-point result to the 2-point result. But Galli defiant at this point, but we'll have to see how long that defiance lasts. As now Munier looks to flex the horsepower in his Ferrari 488 coming through that final sector. 2 minutes and 20 still to go. They'll have another lap after this one, and then they'll bring an end to their race. But it's Jacques Olivier who still leads. The gap now only 4/10. Vliestra is getting closer as we watch Munier head down in towards turn 2.
He is. He's got 2 minutes to go, so he needs to really push up behind him and then try and make a move.
Well, Munier might be making a move here. Galli's been caught unawares and is now chasing after him. Frenchman v Frenchman as they head in towards turn 3. Munier in 10th, managing to stay ahead of Sejourne as well, but they're going to run wheel to wheel as well. Galli also under pressure. Munier up to 9th. So there we go. Great move there from Munier. Played it cautious, but picked his spot. Galli once again could be on the cusp of losing another place here, because here comes Damien Sejourne around the outside, but Galli having that tiger line, able to hold firm and will at least retain a point, at least for now.
Great move from Munier. Nice clean racing as well, because I feel like for these past 2 races have been a bit dirty. So it was nice to see a good clean move.
Oh, we've certainly seen some questionable moments, it has to be said. No doubt some work for the stewarding staff to do after the racing has been concluded here tonight. But one thing's for sure, we have seen some fantastic performances on part of those at the front of the order. We've got a minute to go and counting, and it's still Jacques Olivier out in front. Vliestra, though, has not left his rear spoiler one iota. He's still chasing him down. You never know. We could yet see a twist in the tail in the last remaining lap, or should we say the last remaining corners we have in this next lap, as now we watch Munier round the outside here, coming through turn 2. He's going to try and run side by side here with Menchachi. Remember, Munier only just dispatching for P9 earlier on. Menchachi, though, coming back at him, retains that P8. Munier, I'm sure, though, will not go down without a fight.
Munier is a man on a mission, George. Just over 20 seconds to go. Will he be able to get another place?
Well, we'll soon find out. Heading down the straight once more, and then a trip into the next left-hand of the blue 488. Still persevering on part of Munier. Regional qualifier race winner, split 1 in race 1. But Jacques Olivier unperturbed up at the top. He has been absolutely sensational through the course of this race. He'll meet turn 11 once more with Vlistra all over the rear spoiler, but exiting out of the final bend, and it's going to be Jacques-Olivier. Redemption after race 1. He'll hail in race 2. It's Jacques-Olivier who wins here at Laguna Seca in race 2 of our European region race. With one more to go, we will be going to qualifying to decide the grid for that one, but a fantastic effort on part of Jacques-Olivier as we now watch Loic Meunier also doing battle as well with Menchachi further back. This has been an ongoing battle right through the course of this last lap, and Meunier getting Menchachi right to the bitter end. A fantastic effort, a little light flash towards the very end to say thank you very much, a brilliant job, more points going his way. But what a fantastic race, what a fantastic effort, a great performance once again. This time though, it's gone the way of a driver who looked to have it all ripped away from him through the course of that race. Jacques-Olivier finally taking a victory, and I think it'll be one that he cherishes, Nina, because obviously he was a bit unfortunate to lose the lead in our last race. Stan Vlistra, of course, hit him last time. Looked like Vlistra might have returned the favour, though, in this race.
Absolutely, maybe that's what he did. He left the door wide open. Jacques-Olivier said thank you very much, and it was a retribution drive, like you said, George. I think he'll be very happy with that. What he now needs to do is focus for Quali. He's got to do it all over again.
Well, it means we've got now 2 drivers that have taken race wins already, so no triple crown here tonight. We could yet see 3 different race winners here tonight. Again, a rarity. We have not seen much of that here in the Ferrari HP Esports series, which is absolutely wild when you think about it. But yes, we do have quite the vast crop of talent. But the big question is, who is going to be the fastest where it comes to qualifying? Of course, it was Jacques-Olivier who went on pole in our opening race. Can he do the same again, Nina?
Absolutely. He seems to have the raw pace within him. It's just whether he can get pole and then convert it to the race win.
Yeah, well, we will have to wait and see. Obviously, turn 1 and turn 2, I should say, was the Paramount Bend where everything kind of got unseated coming out of race 1. Of course, we did see some moments as well heading through the corkscrew. That was in itself a challenging moment, I think, for many. Let's take you through, though, those points as far as the standings concerned after race 2. Stan Vlistra still at the top of the shop, 3 points clear of Jacques-Olivier. 43 for Vlistra, 40 points for Olivier. Luca Andretta on 25 points in 3rd. Lasse Albrecht in 4th place on 24. Sven Gilhode, after a difficult race in race 2, still retains 18 points after his P2 in our first race. He's in 5th. Nathan Maximana in 6th on 16. Nico Pantola in 7th place on 12 points. Alex Laho in 8th place on 8 points. We can then take you through towards 9th place and onwards as well, folks. Dylan Claver on 6 points, with Loic Meunier in 10th on 4 points. Then Francesco Menchachi, after that big battle towards the end of that last race, 3 points to his name in 11th. Nicolas Barriant in 12th, with Lucas Galli in 13th. Damien Sejourne is on 0 points, as is Maurice Stryker, and also Abderrahim Bentaleb as well alike. But naturally, still one last chance here tonight to capture their first points here at Laguna Seca. The big question is, will they do it? And naturally, major questions to be answered heading into our next 7-minute qualifying session. Now, once again, the corkscrew showing us why it is the famed corkscrew that we know it to be in motorsport once again, Nina. I mean, we've been speaking about and waxing lyrical about how sensational and unique this segment of corners is, and once again it showed why. I mean, we had a couple of incidents happen there in race 1, saw a few moments as well, some side-by-sides coming through race 2, obviously some drivers having to forego places and be a little cautious as well, but at the same time, some people who have been overcautious have lost positions.
Yeah, exactly. What it's quite refreshing as well, George, is these drivers seem to be treating it like a sprint race, which essentially it is. I think in the previous rounds, other drivers have maybe bided their time a bit too much and not actually gone on the aggressive and made up those places in time. So it's nice to see everyone being quite punchy from the get-go.
It definitely is, because we have seen obviously some should we say some sober starts, I think, in many cases.
Quite polite.
Yeah, I think so. We've seen some very sober starts from many. I think AC have definitely turned up the heat in terms of what they've shown. Great to see as well. I would say probably the skill gap between the drivers is fairly low as well in terms of, you know, what is set between each individual driver. It's a fairly equal grid. The only thing you could say is that, you know, when one incident happens, obviously some members of the field break off and go and form their own pack. But generally, there has been battles right through the course of the race, which is a thrill to see. But obviously, this track with lots of history. We alluded, of course, to Ferrari having a paramount role at this circuit back in May, where of course they had the Ferrari Racing Day on the same day as well, where they took on Ferrari Challenge North America as well, and showing off all the cars from Ferrari's heritage and putting them out on track, including special guests driving the cars. One of those drivers was Rubens Barrichello as well, and always great to see them. And speaking of drivers on show, we've got many of them here as well, featuring on our cameras, as you can see. Obviously, all these guys looking to persevere and try and put themselves in the window to potentially qualify to be part of the grand final at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. They are currently in free practice as it stands. Many of them as well, maybe adjusting setups as well, Nina, to perhaps maybe help themselves coming through and towards race 3.
Exactly, that's what it's all about. Just analysing their driving style, driving technique, adjusting their setups, experimenting with different setups. This is what makes the difference in the races.
It definitely does. We can see many puzzled faces, but also at the same time those that are perhaps taking it with a spell of humor, a few smiles here and there, maybe some that are a little more stressed than others, but still it's all to play for. And I suppose the one good thing about not having one dominant force in the AC side of things is that there is still opportunities for everybody to compete at the top level. But like we said, we've witnessed some fantastic races already through the course of this championship, and we allude back to races that Will Chadwick put together with iRacing, of course, Europe bringing out some really incredible results. Aiden Walsingham as well was unbelievable back at Watkins Glen as well, wasn't he, Nina? I mean, we've got some fabulous talents that are coming in here and rising to the top, the cream of the crop, you could say. I mean, do you think that these drivers need to try and improve somewhat to compete with the likes of Aiden Walsingham, maybe Luca Lozio and Luke Whitehead?
I do. However, tracks are different, aren't they? These drivers might get to the different tracks and not be as strong and not be as on form. So you just never know. It's quite track dependent. But I mean, the drivers that have gone 3 for 3, George, are absolutely dominant.
They certainly are. I mean, we speak about Aiden Walsingham managing to pull the 3 in a row, the man from Somerset pulling it out of the bag, following in the footsteps of Will Chadwick, who did it as well. And not to mention the first ever, well, say the first ever, of course, I no doubt we've seen it before in the past, but we did see some impressive performances from those in the Americas region, from Nicolas Rubelar, the Chilean, who kicked things off the very first round of this championship in the regional finals. He, of course, managing to put together a sensational run of 3 victories, kicking us off as well. And no doubt we will be seeing more in the near future. Drivers, though, making their way out for another 7-minute qualifying session. This one deciding the grid for race 3. The question is, will it be the same old story? Will it go the way of Jacques Olivier once more? Expect to see the times around the 1:21.6s, I would imagine. Sit tight, everybody. This is going to be some ride. Let us know in the live chats as well who you think is going to come out on top, who's going to take pole position. I mean, at the end of the day, Nina, it's all to play for, and from what we've seen, it may not just be the Jacques Olivier story, because there's plenty of other drivers. Sam Vlistra, I think, is going to be more imposing in this session.
I 100% agree. I think drivers would have learned from the first 2 races that qualifying is super, super important, because this track, George, is challenging. Overtakes are not easy, especially if you're being punchy. It's immensely rewarding as well. So you just have to try and go from it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously making sure, of course, that it's not just all about the straight line speed. We know how brilliant the Ferrari is in a straight line, but also you need to make the most of it in the corners as well alike. Find that braking zone coming into turn 2. Obviously, that has caught a few drivers out so far here tonight. 5 minutes, though, to go in the session. Loic Meunier on his flying lap and heading in towards turn 3. Let's see what he digs out. Obviously, he's going to have some issues, though, because there's quite a little bit of traffic around.
Yeah, absolutely. And traffic is not what you want when you're trying to put in some quick laps.
No, not at all. Lucas Scali also crossing the line, looking to get started as well. Some initial times coming in, obviously those from the outlaps. Dylan Claver currently at the top of the shot, but rest assured the 1:34.5 that he put in place will, of course, be beaten. It's just a question of how much by. Still many other cars making their way out on their first outlaps, as we now ride on board here with Jacques Olivier, and already finding huge delta, as you'd expect. And looking to also amass his 2nd pole position here tonight. Could he do it? Flying uphill. Just look at how daring he is. Use of the steering wheel is paramount here. Need to make sure he's precise in terms of what he's inputting into the car, coming into the corkscrew once again. You see him breaking down now, just manipulating the car in first gear into second, and then heading downhill at turn 9 once more. He'll venture in towards turn 10, third gear once more again, and commit to the inside apex. Doesn't even graze the curb on the inset, heads down now towards the final corner at turn 11. Nicolas Lefrancois goes fastest with a 1:22.038. That by no means, though, will be the fastest time we see. Loic Mounier, second fastest. Nathan Maximan, third fastest. Lasse Albrecht, fourth fastest. Jacques Olivier to the top with the first 1:21 of the session. That's a 1:21.825 at the top of the shop.
Fabulous. He was even a bit compromised at the end of his lap there, so I reckon he can go even faster, George.
He could well do. Of course, we have seen 1:21.6s. Do not be surprised if we stretch that far. Stan Vliestra, who finished in second but has won a race this evening, he set a 1:22.452. Still plenty of work to do as far as he's concerned as we watch Olivier head around the track. And he's over 2/10 clear of Nicolas Lefrancois up at the top end. And Lefrancois, you could argue, probably another driver that's better in qualifying than he is in the race.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the nervous energy will be bubbling a little bit because obviously they've seen what's happened and what goes down in the first two races. So they know this qualifying session is really, really important. And I think the higher up you start, the less dramas you'll potentially get into.
Yeah, obviously Sven Gilho having to deal with some traffic just in front of him, but managed to get through, I think, peacefully. And he'll be looking also for retribution after coming into a huge incident in our previous race. This is an opportunity, though, for him to at least get a chance of positioning his car towards the top. If you remember back in our first qualifying session, he put in an impressive lap to eventually push his car closer and closer to the top. Lasse Albrecht going third fastest, though, however. Nico Lefrancois still in second. Gilho, though, speak of the devil, goes to the top here with a 1:21.769, answering back to Jacques Olivier, and the big players are coming back to party again. But Olivier, I'm sure, will be looking to come straight back at Gilho, and he's currently on another lap.
That doesn't surprise me because Gilho was very quick in Quali 1 as well. Unfortunately, he had a few dramas in his races, but let's see if he can make it up for it in this race.
Well, he's in the pits at the moment, probably just looking to reassess before he sets one final run. Olivier 56 thousandths behind Gilho up at the top as we watch Nicolas Lefrancois in third place, beyond 2.5 tenths outside of the spectrum of getting into the top two, but nevertheless he'll have every chance of closing it up. We'll know every little bit about Laguna Seca now after experiencing it firsthand. Needs to dig deep now in these final two sectors if he wants to find yet another improver, and trying to dodge and weave between the traffic at the same time. Coming through turn 11 once more. Will make his way up towards the line. We've got a sea of cars incidentally now looking to queue up, heading around the final bend. Many of them as well coming into the pits, but Olivier's out again, so Gilho. Lefrancois unable to improve on the lap that sees him well beyond 0.2 of a second outside of Jacques Olivier. There's Olivier now, who's now looking to add his time to the top of the order. Coming out of turn 11, can he topple Gilho off the top? A 1:26.6 would be beautiful, as now Olivier comes across the line. Is it enough? I think this might be his outlap anyway. So yeah, nothing to be concerned about. 56 thousandths though to kill in order to get P1.
Absolutely. Who's your money on, George, for this pole?
It's going to be tight between these two. It's tight right now. Pantola goes 8th fastest with a 22.320, and looking to try and strike once more. But we watch Olivier coming through the first sector. Needs to break to well within that 56 if he wants to keep Gilho behind. Gilho is also out on track. It's going to be fascinating to see which of these two comes out on top. But we haven't yet fathomed as well the likes of obviously the driver that caused a real stir, Stan Vliestra, earlier on. He is also out on a lap and is nearly 7/10 outside from top spot as we now watch Olivier come down in towards the corkscrew. Checkered flag is out, so we are now coming into the final moments of qualifying. It's a 1:21.769 to beat, and Olivier is digging deep, looking to try and send his car to the top. Alex Laho goes third fastest. Stan Vliestra moves up to 6 with a 1:22.088. Can Olivier dig deep? Surely, as the track has heated up and obviously generated some more rubber out on the circuit, given the fact there's a lot of track activity out there. Can Olivier use it to his advantage? Topple Gilho for the pole position place. I don't think so. I don't think it's enough. He is still outside of the window, remains 56 thousandths off the top. He will not improve and will remain second fastest.
I'm very surprised, George. I thought he was going to nick it. That lap looks so smooth. But now he's got it all to do on the track. Don't count him out, though.
No, I wouldn't. Sven Gilho will take pole. His first pole position of the night, of course. One for Jacques Olivier and now one for Sven Gilho. And a great chance for Sven Gilho to use the clean air that's in front of him at the very start of the race to take this one home. But we got some key names further back on the second row that might surprise you. Alex Laho, though, coming up last minute. Now, I wouldn't say that's necessarily a surprise. We saw him fighting in previous races in the top 10, was also a little bit unlucky in race 2. Lasse Albrecht is very capable. Nicolas Lefrancois, if you can translate the quali pace into race pace, he could be utterly dangerous. And Stan Valistra, we know what he's capable of in race trim. I would argue that Valistra is the outlier in being better in race trim than he is in quali trim.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there, George. I'm a bit surprised. I thought he'd be a little bit further up the field. So he's got it all to do on track now.
Yeah, we will wait and see. The cars very shortly will be making their way out onto the track to get ready for our third and final race of the evening here at Laguna Seca in the European region, with one more region to go here in North America. That, of course, being the Americas region that will come up later on in the week. But still, nonetheless, the drivers have given us a clinic, and there's more to come. This final race is going to be extraordinary. Any predictions? Let us know in the live chat as to who you think's going to win this one. Nina, who do you think it's going to be?
Money's on Jacques Olivier. Yours?
I'm probably going to go with Olivier as well. I think Jacques Olivier has got it all. Obviously, I do have to wonder whether Stan Valistra could be a last gasp challenger right at the bitter end. We will wait and see. But here we go. We've got all the cars queued up, lined up onto the grid. And very soon we will go racing here for the final time here at Laguna Seca. Sven Gilho on the front row. As we're looking at it on the right-hand side of your screen, on the left-hand side, we have Jacques Olivier. The question is, who's going to get the better jump off the grid, heading down in towards turn 1? We will soon find out. Here come the lights.
And this extra hold that they're experiencing now, it's just going to make the nervous energy even more worse.
Certainly will. All 6 lights now lit. And it's pedal to the metal. And it's go, 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 go. Great start there for Sven Gilho and Jacques Olivier. Not getting perhaps the better jump, but automatically straight in the slipstream. Looks for the leverage. Heading in towards turn 2. Almost pushing Gilho along. And he will try and go late on the brakes. Going around the outside. And you can see the glowing brake discs. How much pressure they're applying on them right now. Coming through the first hairpin. But still, it's Gilho who leads. Lasse Albrecht has managed to hold on to 3rd place with Stan Valistra up 2 places already and challenging that front 3.
Wow, George Valistra, you might be right. He could very much be in contention if he keeps making up places like this. Unlucky for Olivier, he didn't get a great launch, and now he's got it all to do.
It's not the first time we have seen a really strong jump from Stan Valistra, something we have got to get used to because, of course, he is someone who is quite prudent to it. Remember, of course, involved in that incident right at the start. And unfortunately, in that fight, it was Jacques Olivier who came undone in that opening race. But after that, they since met again in race 2. And it was Stan Valistra who forego the race lead and then handing it back essentially to Jacques Olivier. Whether that was intentional or not, we're not sure. But nevertheless, true sportsmanship on show. Great racing between the pair. But still, Stan Valistra coming back strong once more. After not having the best of qualifying sessions, he's making the most of it here in the race. Coming through turn 11. And chasing after Lasse Albrecht, and if he can continue the way he started, he'll have every chance of maybe making it a Valistra 1 and 2.
Absolutely, definitely don't count him out. I must say there was an air of caution with the drivers on this start this time around. It is the 3rd and final race of the day, so it doesn't surprise me.
Well, we'll soon find out. They head onto the brakes. You can just see the glowing rear lights on the back of the Ferrari 488 GT3. Loic Meunier chasing after Nico Lefrancois, who sits in 7th. Chasing after Luca Andretta. Alex Laho in 5th place as well. Every single car in the top 10 are within a second of one another. The one gap that is currently sat out on the timing tower right now belongs to Rizala, who's now trying to break back within the 1 second gap between he and Striker as they head very shortly down the hill and coming up once more, and eventually they will make their way down towards the corkscrew. But it's still Gilles Ho out in front. Olivier 4 tenths away in second place.
Olivier keeping him honest. He'll hope that the door's left open like it was in the last race for him. So let's just see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be quite that easy this time, though. I think, obviously, the drivers would have learned from that occasion as we watch Stan Vlistra once more, 3 tenths away, and still pursuing after Albrecht. And the front four, obviously, looking to career onwards. Laho down in 5th. We've seen Stryker moving up into 10th as well. Pantola down in 11th place. The top 10 now crossing the start-finish line. Stryker, the last of them to do so as they head in towards turn 2. Late on the brakes, Sven Gilles Ho, as... or shall I say Stan Vlistra. Gilles Ho incidentally taking the fastest lap as we saw it pop up on the bottom right. Vlistra still in 4th but ran a little bit wide. Hopefully that hasn't cost him too much and he can still persevere after Lasse Albrecht, who is now outside of a second behind Gilles Ho and Jacques Olivier.
Yeah, him running a little bit wide, put him on the back foot just a little bit, but he seems to have made up the time already and he's right behind him again.
He definitely is. Still Vlistra working hard. He's towing along Alex Laho and Luca Andretta, however. It looks like Gatti further down also forfeiting time. Tommaso Gatti, the Italian, who's currently sat in 14th, has got quite a gap in between he and Mencacci. It's 1.8 seconds, and that does leave him as fodder for Damien Sejourne down in 15th place with Blazquez, who has been in the thick of this like bottom 10 fight that we've been witnessing over the last couple of races. Rizala now moving up to 11th ahead of Mencacci, in fact, and Pantola down to 13th as we watch Stan Vlistra still chasing after Lasse Albrecht.
Gilles Ho, although Olivier is in within a second, Gilles Ho seems to have it all under control, George. Could we get 3 different race winners today?
It's a possibility. I mean, what an occasion. I mean, like I said, it's not something we've had the privilege of seeing because obviously it's been generally a driver goes ahead and takes 3 race wins. So you never know. Maximan moving past Mounier as well as we now watch Lefrancois in 7th. Further back as well, Pantola losing out to Mencacci. So it's all happening and all unfolding out on track here. Gilles Ho still in control, 6 tenths of a second clear of Olivier in second place. Albrecht now 1.5 seconds behind, and Vlistra is going to have to make a decision, you'd fathom. Needs to perhaps put the squeeze on Albrecht so he doesn't get too disconnected from Olivier and Gilles Ho in 1st and 2nd.
Absolutely, I agree. No risk, no reward. Obviously, calculated risks here. You don't want to go and make a silly move and ruin your race, but I think he has to get on with it.
Yeah, absolutely right. Mencacci as well under pressure as now Pantola looks to go around the outside. Still can't quite find it. So enough there from Francesco Mencacci to keep Nico Pantola just in behind. And Pantola forced to remain in 13th place with Gatti now joining this group as they now cruise down the corkscrew and then shortly through towards turns 9. And Albrecht, incidentally, 2 seconds behind now. So Vlistra getting closer to his tail. In fact, I think Vlistra might be challenging Albrecht this time. And Chachi also under pressure from Pantola, who moves up into 12th.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised everyone's taking it a little bit more cautious than they were for the previous 2 races when it seems like it was all guns blazing. Everyone's just being a little bit more calculated this time round.
Oh, I'm not sure about that now because Lefrancois is looking to come into this battling with Luca Andretta, and Albrecht and Vlistra are battling over 3rd. Vlistra looked to have it as they came out of turn 11. Of course, we did witness Olivier further up, but back again comes Vlistra as he looks to come up the inside now, challenging Lasse Albrecht over that final podium place. They're going to run wheel to wheel. Vlistra growing frustrated with the fact that Albrecht is losing time on the front 2. Is going to try around the outside. They've been side by side pretty much throughout the entirety of the first sector. They bash wheels, they come together, and onto the gravel goes Stan Vlistra. The race winner from race 1 has unfortunately come undone and drops down to 9th place. Rizala will move ahead of him surely, but a huge moment again. The carnage at the corkscrew as Lefrancois also comes loose, as does Alex Laho.
I think that was the commentator's curse for me, George, saying it was all calm and very collected, and then chaos just emerged.
It certainly did. Lefrancois forced to lick his wounds. He's ahead now of Alex Laho. Rizala also moves up. Unfortunately for Laho, I think he's gone into the pits. And I would say that's his race over, but he's not alone. Tejouama is also in the pits as well. That's a DNF for both drivers. So the carnage resumes, pretty similar to what we've already seen in the last 2 races.
Absolutely. It's just the theme of this round, isn't it? Absolute carnage and absolute aggression. But I do love it. I love it, George, I must say. Makes for great viewership.
Well, it's the demands of the drivers. They all want the best results. Tommaso Gatti also fighting it out with Menchachi and Blazquez. But it looks like Gatti might have lost out because he's dropped down to 16th now with Samar moving up. We revisit Stan Valistra, who was fighting over a P3. Fortunately, it wasn't to be, and is now just trying to stay alive in the points equation of things. There we see him on the right-hand side of your screen, folks, and just trying to do what he can to at least just lessen the damage at this stage. Has a look down the inside, and as he looks to persevere after Munier, or should we say Rizala, who currently sits in that 8th spot, and the frustration very clear, use of the hand gestures as well. This race could have been oh so different.
Oh, so different for him, but it's important for him to just try and stay calm. He's a good driver, he's got raw pace, he can try and make up as many points as possible. And remember, yes, it's the last race of today, but there are still 3 more races to go, George.
Yeah, and the important factor is he did take the race win in race 1, which does help him out in terms of the championship. It's not over yet by any means, and I would say you're just as much at risk if you're Jacques Olivier, whether you're Sven Gilho, or even if you're Stan Valistra. Everyone is, well, no one's safe here at this point. Valistra is on the end of another battle once more. This time Rizala doing his best not to forego the place. Valistra going around the outside in a bid to take 8th away, gets rubbed onto the gravel and once again forced to remain behind. And again, that's going to be frustrating. Jacques Olivier going for the lead as well, away from Gilho. They're going to go wheel to wheel, further up as well, battling for that lead spot. It looks like Gilho might have taken it back briefly, but Olivier trying to force him to make moves.
And that's what Olivier needs to do. He needs to crack on with it, George, because we've got just over 5 minutes to go left of this race. Time is ticking. It's running out.
Yeah, we saw them swapping, coming through the middle sector, and Gilho whipping the rear out on his Ferrari 488 as they climbed up the hill. Olivier still looking to get closer and closer, though, and is not out of this by any means. The gap, though, between them and the rest is around 3.2 seconds. There's Stan Vlistra, still chasing after Rizala over 8th spot, and he's getting a lovely run out of the turn 8 and turn 8A section, coming through turn 9, turn 10 to come, and they'll venture then around the final corner, and he's still pushing and prodding at Rizala, keen to get into that P8, and now he will run side by side. He has the inside line. Surely that'll favour him, and he'll get a nice run down the straight. They still remain together, and Rizala onto the gravel. It looks like Valistra has managed to gamble, take P8, but there's banging further back. Striker coming into this. Puntola, no Punterino, into turn 2, please, gentlemen, as now we watch Vlistra coming in towards turn 2. He holds onto that P8 advantage, but Rizala is definite, well, in defiance, trying to fight back to take that place back.
You have to admire Valistra and his absolute sheer determination. He could have easily gotten disheartened. He said, no, I'm coming, I'm getting my way through, and I'm making my way up this grid. Absolutely
right. We now join Nicolas Lefrancois in 7th, who's still chasing after Nathan Maximan as they come through the mid-sector themselves. 2 red Ferraris come together. Olivier and Gilho. Gilho, I think, might have had an issue. Gilho's dropping down the field. What has happened to Gilho? He's in 5th. He was leading. He's now dropping through the field. A big moment. Jacques Olivier now leads the race. Ben Gilho has dropped down to 5th. I'm not quite sure what has happened to him, but nevertheless, it's Jacques Olivier who now leads the way, and Lasse Albrecht has come to within a second, and there is Gilho now. He has fallen behind Luca Andretta. Not sure what happened to Gilho. I thought we were going to get 3 different race winners for a sec then, George, but Jacques Olivier will say thank you very much. Whatever happened, I will go and take this win now, hopefully for him. No, I tell you what, it's heartbreak there for Gilho, who's had a really tough day. He had a really unfortunate moment in race 2 as well, and it's followed suit again here in this 3rd race. I'm not sure quite what happened, whether it was just a case that he ventured off circuit or whether he just came into contact with Olivier as they were scrapping, maybe an uncomfortable exit or something as they fought over P1, but Olivier nonetheless has got the lead, and he's increased his position at the top now to 1.1 seconds, and it's Jacques Olivier who looks in rude health and in the perfect position to go back-to-back with race wins. And we'll add that to the pole position he managed to accrue at the very start of the night. Absolutely, and now he's got the lead, he's got raw pace, so consistency is key here, focusing on maintaining a smooth, steady driving style each lap, minimising his mistakes just to maximise his performance, George. Yeah, Pantola, who we're currently watching as well, looking to try and get up into ninth. Sojourn is in front of him. Obviously, if he gets ninth place, that is 2 points. He'll double up on the one he's already accrued. Heading down turn 9, looking to have the door open for him, but he might have to force an entry coming in towards turn 10. Pantola being forced to wait, as now they head through the next right and very shortly the next left, and down the straight they will run once again, but still no change. And Nico Pantola from Finland will be looking to dig deep now as we venture on to this next lap with 2 minutes and 10 still to go. Around 2 laps remain here in this race. Jacques Olivier still in control as it stands. Nico Pantola still digging deeper and trying to close up to the back of Sojourn. But as far as Jacques Olivier is concerned, this is a fantastic result that will, of course, strengthen his grip on this championship charge. Of course, competing in the GT World Challenge Endurance Series earlier on this year and applying all that experience once more, this time here in the Ferrari HP Esports Series. And you never know, this could be the critical round that could yet help him move onwards to Ferrari World Yas Island Abu Dhabi, as we now watch Lefrancois still chasing after Maximan over 6. Sven Gildo still occupying P5, but a second outside from Luca Andretta.
Yeah, I don't know not sure what drama Gilho had. It's so unfortunate for him, but Olivier will be laughing. He'll be very, very happy. He just needs to keep his head down now, and I think the race win is his.
Well, it's definitely in his hands. He's clear of Lucas Albrecht by approximately now, Lasse Albrecht by around 1.5 seconds. So already marching that charge outwards. He's finding tenths on those behind. The last lap, in fact, was 3 tenths quicker than Lasse Albrecht in second place. So a fantastic effort from Jacques Olivier as we watch Nico Pantola now chasing after Damien Sojourn. He's going to come down in towards turn 2 and take an outside line run. Of course, that's never ideal, but he will get a nice run, some nice speed generated coming in towards turn 3. He's not quite in proximity to make a move here on Damien Sojourn, and he does invite as well Francesco Menciacci, which might make things rather tricky in terms of holding on to a points finish.
Absolutely, that's what happens when you start squabbling. It invites the people behind you just a little bit closer, but all important points between 10th and 9th place. He's got to try and go for it, George.
Certainly is. 13 seconds remain now. We're going to be coming into the final 10 any time now. In fact, we are there here at Laguna Seca, the final race of the European affair here in the Ferrari HP Esports Series. The next trip they will take, obviously, will send them towards, obviously, the Nürburgring, which is going to be enticing. That won't be until the very end of the calendar, but Jacques Olivier goes back-to-back. He took pole position at the very start of the night. He ends the day with a victory. It's 2 wins back-to-back, race 2 and race 3. W's in the column for Jacques Olivier, the Frenchman, out on top here at Laguna Seca, and reigns dominant here in North America. Lasse Albrecht finishing in second place, and Loic Meunier coming across the line in third as well. But a big race as far as Jacques Olivier is concerned. Some huge points, another 25 to add to those that he's accrued already through the course of the night. So well beyond 50. A fantastic performance, and managed to obviously capitalise after Sven Gilhode's mistake.
Absolutely. Knockout drive from Jacques Olivier. Good recovery drive, actually, we should say. He's the cat who's got the cream. I'm sure he would have liked to have gone 3 for 3. That would have been his aim, but I'm sure it will take 2 out of 3, George.
It would have probably felt a little better if he went ahead and accrued 75 points through the course of tonight, but no doubt the stewards are going to have their say, I would imagine. So sit tight, everybody. These results, I'd imagine, will be scrutinised looking back even at race 1, race 2, race 3. I'm sure there is some goings on that will be looked at, that's for sure. But an amazing battle, obviously right through the course of the evening. The pace, though, on side of Jacques Olivier, definitely playing into his hands. It puts him right at the top of the shop as far as the standings are concerned, and we will take a look at those when they are updated as well. Of course, still subject, as we said before, to stewards' decisions. But one thing that can be said, Laguna Seca has not disappointed tonight.
Absolutely not. Even with the APAC region, it's been a great racing, exciting racing.
Yeah, here is those standings as well. 65 points for Jacques Olivier. He's at the top of this championship fight. Stan Vlistra, after taking victory in the opening race, he's on 49 points. He will be, however, currently sat 7 points ahead of Lasse Albrecht, who finished strongly in our last race. Third place, Luca Andretta in fourth on 37 points. Sven Gildhode on 28 points in fifth. Loic Mounier in sixth place on 19 points. Nathan Maximan in 7th place on 16 points. Nico Pantola in 8th place on 13 points will then take you down from Ps9 onwards as well. And let's see who stacks here in these positions. Nicolas Lefrancois on 8 points. He's joined by Alex Laho and then Dylan Claver on P11 with 6 points. Francesco Menchachi on 5 points in 12th. Damien Sejourne in 13th on 4 points. Nicholas Barriant in 14th on 2 points, with Lucas Galli collecting his 1 solitary point and sits in 15th. Maurice Stryker has yet to score as well, sat in 16th, but still opportunities to come when we head to the Nürburgring in the second half of the calendar. But quite the statement made here by obviously our race winner of the last 2 races, Jacques Olivier. Where can he go from here, Nina?
Well, he can go on to the Nürburgring and try and win that as well. Honestly, I really enjoyed this evening. There was action everywhere, chaos everywhere. Jacques Olivier triumphed in the last 2 races, so I think he'll be very happy.
Yeah, it just seemed to me that his consistency hailed on the day. He was brilliant in qualifying, once again came back during the course of the race. He was unlucky in race 1 after coming together with Stan Vlistra, though I must applaud Stan Vlistra for his, sportsmanship in a way. I have to say, I mean, he himself was absolutely sensational, and I think in many ways was unfortunate in his own right in race 3, and no doubt we'll probably see maybe even his results scrutinised coming out of the final race there. But you'll almost see that as an opportunity missed, Stan Vlistra, despite obviously accruing that race win at the very start of the night. He's wondering what if with race 2 and what if with race 3.
I think so, but he can go away from this competition and say, hey, after this round I got a waist ring, so hopefully it will just give him a bit more confidence going into the next round. But I think the stewards will be quite busy this evening, George.
I think they will be. They'll be having a look at every single result in severe detail. And one man who'll be hoping that he has a clear run is the one, the only Jacques Olivier. And Jacques Olivier, I owe you an apology because I called you Jack Oliver at the very start of the night, so I apologise for that. But I want to talk to you about your busy evening here, because that's 2 wins in the last 2 races. You must be a little bit peeved that you didn't get the full 3 because you had a chance in the first race.
Yeah, honestly, after Quali, I thought I probably could do it, but yeah, I got completely killed in turn 1 of race 1. I don't want to call out names or anything, but yeah, it was a bit like I wasn't expecting such a incident in such a race, let's say. But the other races were okay. I did too many mistakes, honestly. Yeah, I wish I would. I probably I had the pace to win the 3, but I mean, it's a race. Anything can happen. So yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. But still, you maximised the points where you could. I mean, the 2 races that followed, obviously, you put it right in a way. I mean, what's the preparation been like coming into Laguna Seca? Because it's such a difficult circuit, and we all know how tricky and unique the corkscrew is. Just how many hours have you put into this?
I'm not sure I'd be able to tell you. But the thing is, I also I'm doing like championships on other sims, so I don't really have time to fully commit to this one. So I was a bit limited, I guess, in time. So I don't know. If I was to guess, I'd probably say like 5 or 6 hours, something like that. I wish I could have put more hours in, because I mean, I'm sure there was loads of things in the setup I didn't find out, because the car is still very tricky to drive. And I lack consistency as well, so just more practice would have helped. So yeah, I'd say 5-6 hours, maybe 7, maybe 8. I'm not really sure. And the track, I mean, for sure it's a different track. I never really drove this car before except for the hot lap qualifiers, so I didn't really know the car because I didn't do many laps for that first qualifier phase. So I was kind of discovering the car, and on such a specific track, sometimes you need to do like kind of weird things on the setup. So I guess that's what I tried. I tried multiple things on the setup, especially suspensions, and I guess in the end it worked fairly well, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this grid as well, I mean, we've obviously factored in your brilliant results here tonight, but there's been some other drivers who put themselves in the shop window for potential wins, and you had your challenges out there. Is there any names in particular that you can pick out? Would you say Stan Vlistra is one of the ones up there, or are there others that you think that could be pretenders to your throne?
I mean, I wouldn't call it a throne, but I mean, yeah, the 2 Dutch guys, so Sven and, I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher his name, Stan, I think it is. Both of them, like, they pretty much had my pace in the race, so yeah, I guess both of them, if they do really well in the second race, I mean, I don't have a huge gap in the standings, so like anything can happen. So I'd say those guys, they are very fast. I didn't really know. I knew Sven before from one league race we did once, but like yeah, they are very quick. Like you never know what can happen in the second race as well. But like even outside of them, I'm sure the other guys, like a lot of people, very close to the lap times in quali, for example, in the race. So it could be anyone really. If someone really puts in a lot of time into it, or finds something in a setup or anything, it could be anyone. But yeah, I'm expecting those two Dutch guys to be really quick as well in the second race.
Well, you may not call it a throne, but obviously P1 is the result everyone wants in this region's championship. Looking ahead to the Nürburgring, what are your thoughts heading to that one? Obviously, that will be our final track we visit in the regional finals. Can you give us your intake on that, or your view on it?
I mean, it's a very fun track usually. I haven't done a single lap with this car, so maybe I'll find it very frustrating or something because of the curves or the chicane or anything. I don't really know. It's a fun track. It's good to race on. So, like, there could be more overtakes than on Laguna Seca, I'd say, because there's longer straights. It's less twisty or less treacherous, let's say. So there's more opportunities to set up a move, do a move. So, I mean, yeah, again, I think quality will be very important still, but we probably will be able to overtake more in the race. That's how I see it.
Yeah, well, we'll look forward to seeing how you get on. But congratulations, 2 from 2 in the last 2 races. We'll wish you all the best when you head to Nürburgring.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jacques Olivier, everybody. The Frenchman, obviously successful in our last 2 races. I think, though, there was a little bit of regret in his voice, though. Clearly not happy with the contact heading through turn 2, venturing through Andretti. And he was very careful not to mention the name of the driver. Of course, we all know who it was, but we won't throw him out into the right in front of the bus or anything like that. But I think even he knows them. There was obviously some gestures out there on track afterwards, I think, from Stan Balestra. But, you know, listening to... obviously Jacques Olivier there talking about his performance tonight almost seemed resolute in some ways, but I think obviously that level of disappointment is very clearly there. I think felt he could have gone the whole hog and taken the 75 tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, shots fired. I won't name any names. He's not happy, so he might be even reporting that to the stewards. I think he has the pace. He said he only practiced on this track for 5 hours,
Incredible.
George. Insane. Well, you have some drivers practicing for weeks, 20 hours, and if he can do all that in 5 hours with real practice for the Nürburgring, he might be unstoppable.
We talk about flexes. I mean, that is the flex of all flexes, I think. Coming up against a highly competitive grid. I mean, with the preparation levels not being necessarily as high as he would have liked, and having such a busy calendar. Of course, the Ferrari HP Esports Series is the championship that everyone really wants to win tonight. Of course, many of them perhaps dreaming of the chance to represent the Ferrari team in the near future, and they're obviously looking for new young stars to take the helm for the prancing horse. I mean, you know, you've got to be at 100%, haven't you, to win a title like this?
Absolutely. And he was quite harsh on himself. He said he made too many mistakes in races 2 and 3 in the races that he won. So I think if he's harsh on himself, if he practices, if he prepares for the Nürburgring, he's going to win it. He'll be all right.
Yeah, just imagine how dangerous he'll be when the preparation comes in. And I think he would need the preparation as well. I mean, looking at some of the other drivers who have contended, I think he might struggle against some stronger grids here, Nina, because obviously we've seen some fantastic performers in ACC, not to mention iRacing as well, not forgetting the other regions that have taken place. Obviously, we're yet to go stateside here on Assetto Corsa. Do you think he's selling himself a little bit short by not necessarily preparing perhaps as well as he might wish he could have?
Absolutely. I think time is of the essence. Of course, everyone's got things going on in their lives, but I think now he's done the first round of the regional finals for him, he'll see the level that everybody is at. So all it will do now is spur him on to come back stronger for the Nürburgring.
Yeah, and obviously we've got other drivers to factor in. We've got to talk about Stan Balestra, arguably perhaps one of the grandest performers, but on the other hand, probably the most unfortunate in many ways, losing out. I mean, what do you make of him heading through to the Nürburgring?
I think he had heart for this round. He had heart and he had determination. A couple of instances, a few mistakes, but as long as he gets his head back down, he'll be able to come back stronger.
Well, we'll soon find out if he can. Of course, he took race 1 victory, but it was followed up with Jacques Olivier going back-to-back, also taking the opening pole position. Folks, we'll be right back very soon here at Laguna Seca for our Americas region coming up very shortly as well, later on in the week. But from me, George Morgan, and Nina Jade Paul, it's been real. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.